Okay, this is June Gem 15, and this is going to be about parallel processing inside of a Nintex workflow. Now, it's not as scary as it sounds. I know that doing things in parallel is very kind of devy. A lot of developers do a lot of parallel processing, multi-threading. Sounds kind of scary. It's really not when it comes to Nintex workflow. So really, it's an easy way to do it. There's an action inside Nintex workflow called run parallel actions, and you simply drag and drop. It gives you two branches straight away. Now, if you want to do other branches, you can simply click on the little drop down here and click on add a branch, add a branch. There's really nothing uh, too impressive in the actual configuration of the run parallel branches, sorry, run parallel actions uh, itself. So it's really the work it does inside the branches. Now, I guess the question really comes up is why do I need this? What am I doing in here that would require me to run things in parallel? I'm not really doing too much sort of hardcore processing, so is there really much need to this? There's a couple of reasons why I use it. One is if there are things that can happen at the same time that aren't going to affect each other, I like to do it this way. One, it keeps the workflow a little bit neater. The other is it kind of breaks it up a little bit, and I can actually control things and do things a little bit faster. But like I said, unless you're doing some really hardcore processing, which is really not what workflow in SharePoint is made for, um, yeah, there are other reasons for this. One reason I do it this way is, for example, setting a bunch of variables. So if I was to create create some variables here, I'll just do a couple here. Uh, we'll just do text. Oops, text one, text two, and we'll do text three. Now, if I want to set these variables, I could just do set a variable. Oh, set variable right there. Just drag it across. And I find this a little bit neater to do in regards to workflow design, right? So I can do something like that, and then I can just simply change these. Now, this may make some sense, right? But really what you're looking at here is just slightly neater design. That's all that is. Now, if you start doing something else, like for example, a core web service action, and let's say it could potentially be a time-consuming uh, action, right? For example, this one might be calling an HR system. This might be calling a finance or the accounting system. Oops. And this one I'm going to actually get rid of. Instead of that, maybe do an execute SQL, right? Now, here are three actions that by themselves could potentially take a little bit longer to run. So running them in parallel might actually make sense because you're really calling three different systems, so it might make things a little bit faster that way. Okay, so why else would I use a run parallel actions? Let's minimize this and add another one. And let's say you want to assign tasks to people. Now, we talked about tasks in a previous uh, June gem, so let's do this assign a flexi task action. Now, of course, you can actually customize this action. You can send it to multiple people. It could be user one and user two, right? But the thing is, this is basically the same task. Same task. You can definitely break it up into individual tasks, but really, if you look at the behavior, it's either the first response applies, majority must choose, or must agree, etc. If part of this particular form is there's actually some data that the user or the approver has to fill in, then of course this is really not the action for that. So let's just do that. There are other actions you could do, like for example, the request data action. Would do that for you. This will assign a task to a single person and will get them to fill in a form. But here's the downside. Let's say get rid of this one. Let's say I have this request data action and I actually need to get two, three, we'll say three people to respond and actually fill in the forms. So when we're talking about first response applies, we're talking about I need three distinct answers. So I could definitely have, 3 of these actions. The downside to this is that I have to wait for this task to be completed before this person can actually complete the task. And then now I have to wait for this guy to complete this task before this lady gets the task. So this whole process is going to be very time consuming because we're going to have to wait for people. Instead, we still have to wait for people, definitely, but if you broke it up into 3 branches, all 3 people will get assigned tasks at the same time. They will all get their own forms. And if this person takes a week to respond, and this person takes a week to respond, and this person takes a week to respond, at the end, it's still only taken us a week to get all these answers. Whereas if it was more like this, it could potentially take us up to 3 weeks to get those responses. So that's something else to really think about as you start building out those business processes, and especially given that you can look into how long are people taking to respond, and this might be just a slightly better way to design your workflow so you can get those responses in a lot faster. Okay, quick and easy. Last thing I should probably mention is if you do things like have distinct branches and you want this to look a little bit nicer, you can definitely add other branches within these. You can move this particular branch to the left. This is purely for aesthetic reasons, right? If it makes sense for you that this branch is all about management, this one's about finance, and this one's about accounting, or you want an alphabetical order, you could do that sort of stuff by moving these branches around. Okay, hope this is helpful for you people. It's just a slightly different way of designing some workflows and hopefully improving them and making them a lot faster. Thanks for your time.